Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it, Monday editions here at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson is pulling double duty. We did let him leave the studio after the morning hookup to go home, hose off, and hustle right back. Will, props to you and your Big 8 era Husker football camp.
Yeah, man. You keep bringing up that Big 8.
I know you missed the Big 8. But guess what you can do now that you couldn't in the Big 8 legally?
What's that?
NIL money.
Thank God.
We'll get there. We'll get there. First and foremost, really enjoyed the latest episode with Bussin with the boys. And Will Compton and Taylor and crew were here last week. Doing their episode. That episode dropped, and Will, friend of the show. So we'll have a little bit of insight from Casey Thompson on the Nebraska decision from that pod episode, and just what type of green you can make at Nebraska. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. If you're outside the Lincoln area, when you listen to us on our affiliates, chime in on our dime there. Email chris@hailvarsity.com and find us on Twitter. Give us a tweet if you like at Schmidt_radio, Chris Schmidt at Will on the Radio for Will Wilson. And as always, at ESPN Lincoln and at Hail Varsity, follow both of those. So we have so much to get to. It is March Madness time. Note to you for the opening rounds of the NCAA tournament. Longwells, Hooksy, Will Wilson, Elijah Herbal. You guys rocking both days?
That's right. Yeah, Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday. Yeah. The special NCAA tournament lead-in 9-11 will be awesome. Want to see you down there. I take off to go see Mama in Arizona on Wednesday. So I will be
good for you.
I will be glued in on the stream for sure. But the spot and its tradition, it's not quite Green Jacket good, but it's its own special, awesome Longwells for your NCAA tournament needs. Get on down to the rail yard, see the great folks there, and enjoy tournament time. We will talk to a Nebraskan that is dancing. Charlie Easley going to be with us in an hour and 15 minutes. He's part of that great squad from South Dakota State. Charlie, again, a state champion from Pius X, played at Nebraska, doing great work at South Dakota State. So Charlie Easley in hour 2. Another Charlie, Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, kicks us off in hour 2. In about 20 minutes, we'll recap championship weekend and some NCAA tournament thoughts with Jacob Padilla from Hail Varsity. But the Husker women are dancing again, second time since 2018. They are an 8 seed against the Gonzaga. I think that's an early morning tip on Friday in Louisville. So awesome for Coach Williams and Nebraska women. That's big time. You have Husker baseball that's the collective sigh of relief from the state. As they get the dub, babe. Hey,
there we go.
Hey, they get the dub, and that's fine by me. And if you see Griffin Everett, make sure he's good with it, but give him a hug if you're a Nebraska baseball fan. 6-5, Husker baseball today at home. They got walked off yesterday by UNO. They walk off UNO today, 6-5. Everett 4 for 5, 4 RBI. 2-run bomb, another home run, a solo shot, and then the walk-off game-winning RBI double as Max Anderson hauls from second home, Willie Mays Hayes style.
Have a day.
Yeah, 20-1 Nebraska baseball in Haymarket home openers all time.
It's a hell of a stat.
That is, but maybe this will kickstart. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Win number 5 for the Big Red. They got some work to do. I think it's either New Mexico or New Mexico State looms. So plenty of time left, but some work to do for Nebraska. They wasted a really good outing on the hill yesterday. Not much offense to speak of, so that will get worked out.
Thank God for Everett, huh?
Oh, yeah. That's what your captain's got to do. Sometimes he's got to pull the entire rope when you're playing tug of war, but he got it done. Spring football on a bit of a hiatus. Spring football had their scrimmage Friday. We talked about it a little bit Saturday morning and a little bit Friday afternoon about the chippiness that was ongoing. A major blow-up and wasn't there, but those that were referred to me that it got heated after a cheap shot in the end zone. Then you had offense and defense engaging one another. You had an unhappy Frost, and once you had an unhappy Frost, it was time to run and keep running. And then an extra session of 2-minute drill just for good measure. So there is this. Nebraska will have a bit of a break here with spring break. They'll get back at it for another scrimmage, and before we know it, we'll get into April, and it'll be the spring game. A really good column by Sam McEwen on just some of the changes here. And when it was said during his press conference the last day in February, Scott Frost dove into just what he has now on the offensive staff, right? And Coach Frost isn't really a sugar coater, and that's okay. But you have lack of subtlety. And when it comes to the offensive staff, there's a little bit more light shine. And you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as just truth and the why, or you can look at it as excuses / throwing people under the bus. But you want to know, okay, why move on, and why move on with 2 regular season games left? That was the question, right? And I know we're hitting rewind versus moving forward, but you're getting a little bit more insight. And the thought is that the former assistants didn't have quite enough edge for their Big Ten assignments. Think of the former assistants: Ryan Held, Greg Austin, Super Mario, and then you had 2 different offensive coordinators and wide receiver coaches. And Troy Walters is doing quite fine in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Troy Walters has done quite well at Colorado as a recruiting coordinator and wide receiver coach, and did so at A&M as well. And then you had Lubick, who was, I don't know if he's doing mortgages or kind of the face of a bank in Fort Collins. I like all of these guys. They all can coach. They're all talented. And we've highlighted the offers that Greg Austin has had and turned down to stay in Lincoln. But when we talk about edge, it comes down to coaching style. And you can't always have 10 bad cops. You need some good cops. You need some bad cops. You need some enforcers. Think about personality makeups on a team, right? YMCA ball, pickup ball. Will, you play pickup ball?
Yeah, all the time.
You're the 3-point specialist.
Well, try to be.
Right? Okay, yeah. That's your role.
Mm-hmm.
You have an enforcer on your team. He may not be able to shoot. He may be clumsy as all get out, 2 right feet or 2 left hands, whatever the case. But there's a dude that is on your team that is going to be your muscle.
He fights.
Right. Mm-hmm. He is the tone setter. He's a physical presence. The Hanson brothers in Slapshot, right? Bill Lambier with the Bad Boys.
Getting 5 fouls a game. Right?
Uh-huh. And you know what? He doesn't count it as a foul unless you're bleeding. Think of your NFL guys, your enforcers, dudes that are... Think of the Jansen character that is happy as all get out. Tom Brady's back playing for a 23rd season. Some may call him a cheap shot artist. You want him on your team and on your offensive line. That little ball of red hair that plays center for Tampa Bay. I can't stand watching him, but I get why he is beloved in Tampa. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the point of the enforcers and the different personalities, and I just wonder if, I don't want to say lack of respect or just the job was too big, but there's some gray area in the middle. Either the players weren't connecting with some of the former position coaches, or the former position coaches just were at a loss with what to do. And this, to me, is your domino effect. Think about this with your different position groups as you're coming in. And the other question you ask, too, is, okay, if guys you brought with you out of loyalty, and God love you for doing it, from Central Florida, if guys weren't getting it done, how long did it take you to figure it out as head coach? 2018, it's a whirlwind. You're signing kids late, and you still do the right thing and coach your team in the Peach Bowl at Central Florida with the staff. You see them finish an undefeated season. Then you get to Lincoln, and it's all rushed and hurried, right? Then you have a good finish to 2018. You get into 2019, and it's just messy after that fourth quarter and overtime in Boulder. Never right after that ball game. COVID's COVID in 2020, nightmare. And then here's last year where, I mean, the clock's ticking. It's toxic from the get-go because you keep losing close ball games, starting with that Illinois ball game, and then the Michigan State, and then the Michigan, and you go down the road of tight ball games and losses. And then you make a change. And this domino effect, to circle back, is on the offensive line, you've really just never had old guys. You had seniors you inherited that did a good job for you on the offensive line. I mean, the Gerald Fosters of the world, the Tanner Farmers of the world. Hymas. Yeah. And then Hymas, to his credit, leaves and is playing well for the Chargers. But he wasn't there. You're starting freshman or redshirt freshman on the offensive line. And guys really were thrust into it. You went with the best guys you had. They're high-level recruits, but it just takes time to water on the offensive line. And we're wondering about Corcoran. What's his future look like? He's really started one season. Benhart, he has come in, and he's trying to work his way back and be what you thought he could be. It's your job as coach to get him there, and I think Raiola couldn't do that. But I'm just talking about on the offensive line with Greg Austin, what he had, what he worked with, what he recruited, and what he sent to the NFL. So that's a curious case. But when it comes to that edge, you've got new guys that are super intense. Raiola, case in point. There's a standard. We're not deviating from it. And it's you do this or you don't play. The running back position. Think of the misses at the running back position. Think of the inconsistency of the rotation. I don't anticipate that with Applewhite at all. You just wondered, okay, where is the, you go get Greg Bell, okay? And he's JUCO Player of the Year, runs 1,500 yards last year for San Diego State. That's still not Power 5, right? Top JUCO back in the country, but still not Power 5. Didn't last in Lincoln. Mo Washington, just nightmare. Didn't last year. Marvin Scott transfers out. Savion Morrison has transferred out. Mills was injured, but when he was healthy, was pretty good. So, and then you're playing Wandale at running back because you really don't have a room full of wideouts to go to post Stan Morgan and J.D. Spielman. So it's just a cluster of a mess. And when we talk about edge, that edge wasn't set. You know what happens on the line of scrimmage when you don't set the edge? They go for about a 15-yard gain if you're lucky, right? That's what Scott's talking about, and a little bit more insight to how things have changed. And the new sheriffs in town are extremely demanding, maybe more so than their predecessors in Applewhite, in Whipple, in Mickey Joseph, in Donovan Raiola.
Yeah, I wonder what the transition is like going from a school like UCF to Nebraska, the Big Ten. You know, you talk about it's somewhere in the middle between the job being too big or trying to remember what the other side was for you, Schmidt, but...
Is it too big or is there a lack of respect?
Respect.
And I'm saying, and I mean that from, okay, the kids in that room, this guy didn't know what he's doing. Why am I not playing? And then when it's my turn, I'm not ready.
Yeah. I mean, from the Mike Riley side, I thought this was way too big. I don't think it's that for these coaches. I think they could have handled it. You're right. Something went wrong. It
shouldn't have been too big for Riley because he's coached big-time ball.
Sure.
These guys with Central Florida, they had first, second, third-round talent on their squad in a league that has been good. When you look at all the coaches that have made the jump but not many of them have lasted. Matt Rule's the only guy that's not been fired from AAC. Herman, Houston, Texas, right? I mean, Frost has still got his job, but the guy that went from Memphis, Fuente, from Memphis to Virginia Tech. It's been a good league to come from, but man, you better have some big time ball experience heading in. Some did, many didn't on the staff that all made the transition. So just some thoughts. Good column by Sam there. And Mickey Joseph's been at high profile big time jobs. Same with Whipple. Raiola, at least in the NFL, and then you have Applewhite that's been at TCU, but he's also been around, working his way up from Colorado State, from Northern Colorado, from Wyoming. So no BS, pretty clear communication, and it sounds like it's black and white with the expectations and what you need to do to play. We'll dive into the Casey Thompson sit-down coming up in about 20 minutes, and NIL and how the playing field could be, once again, a game changer for Nebraska. It's put into words with lots of zeros. NCAA Tournament High School Championships, Jacob Padilla on the way. It's a Monday with Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Spidal Body Works is your best decision after a collision.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Thanks for hanging out. Monday edition, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson. We welcome in Jacob Padilla with HailVarsity.com and magazine. Also has 2 podcasts for you to check out. Talks Husker basketball and, of course, the high school prep pod with Damon Benning at Jacob Padilla _ on Twitter. Jacob, have you taken a breath from all the weekend coverage, my friend? How are you?
Good. I got to sleep in past 10 this morning, so that was nice.
Man, good on you. Jacob was hunkered down courtside, breaking down and tracking all of the 96 teams, 48 matchups, and, of course, the championship Friday and Saturday. Want to start with the prep. We'll get to some college basketball in a moment. But your overall takeaway, Jacob, it was awesome to have a really ruckus PBA throughout the entire tournament in Lincoln, but specifically Friday and Saturday championship rounds were just incredible. What did you think of the performances you saw? What are you taking away from state basketball 2022?
Yeah, it was definitely great to see all the fans back in the arena after the last 2 years. Obviously, 2 years ago it was very strange with very few people in there, and then even last year was a little different. So this year was kind of full go, and especially for that Class A boys game, man, you saw people up in the upper section kind of littered throughout there as well, and the crowds were great. The student sections were both full. Heck, they were there early to kind of add numbers to the smaller class student sections of the game before. I know Miller North was in there, so it was pretty cool environment. I think that the 6 days, it was a lot, but it also provided a lot of basketball and a lot of chances for people to show up and see some really good ball.
Memorable teams. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I think it being spread out a little bit definitely helped the level of play as you got later on in the tournament. There were some games that went down to the wire, some overtime games, and teams got a full day off to recover and then game plan for their next opponent. So I don't know that I would want this format moving forward where you've got all 96 teams down at the tournament, same time, 6 straight days, whatever. That was a lot, but there were definitely some advantages for the players and teams. And I think the reception was pretty favorable, but also mixed from most of the coaches that were involved with it for various reasons.
Don't disagree, and yeah, I'm a fan of the old format, spacing it over a 2-week period. It was a lot. It was it was awesome. It was awesome to do all that basketball, but it was pretty heavy lifting, and that's not a boo-hoo moment for me. It just was what it was because of that amount in that time span versus what we're traditionally used to. Memorable teams, performances from 2022. Are there players or some teams that will stay with you for a while?
Yeah, well, definitely the Class C1 tournament as a whole was phenomenal, and I thought it had a chance to be all year just based on the strength and depth of good teams in that class, and it more than lived up to the hype. We saw in the first round we had an 8-1 upset by a team that was playing in the state tournament for the first time in a century in Fort Calhoun, knocking off Wahoo in the first round, and I was there and got to see that game. A big-time shot from Austin Welchard in the corner. And then in the semis, we saw Cale Jacobson just go off the record-setting performance with 43 points and did it in such an incredibly efficient fashion. 13 of 17 from the field, 14 of 14 from the line. And then he had an overtime game in the semis as well, in the other semi, with Auburn and Fort Calhoun going down to the wire and needing an extra 4 minutes to determine a winner. And then in the final, probably the single moment that kind of will stick in my head most was the Evan Shepard game-winning three in the corner. And great game, wasn't super high scoring, and I don't think anybody expected it to be with Auburn making it to that point. But for Ashland Greenwood to kind of take the lead early, for Auburn to rally back, and then Ashland Greenwood to have the last possession, and for Cale Jacobson to make the right play, trust his teammate, and have his teammate reward him. That was a pretty special moment, I know. Talking to those guys afterward and just knowing a little bit about the story and everything, that was probably the moment that I'll remember most from what has been a long and exciting state tournament.
The trilogy, Millard North, Bell West, it wasn't as high scoring as previous meetings, but high-level basketball. Jason Green's going to do great things for Creighton. But, man, he is such a force, but he doesn't force it. I think that's what's really special about him. He's arguably best dude on the court, and I know Bell West has some flat-out studs as well, but Green just does everything right, and he did all tournament. Yeah,
for sure. And first-round game against Elkhorn South, he was an absolute monster. I think it was like 20, 14, and 7 blocks is what I had him with. 20 points, 14 rebounds, 7 blocks, just a ridiculous performance. And played well in the semis, and then in the final. He didn't put up huge numbers, but when it was winning time, he took over the game on both ends of the court. It was a couple possession game there to start the fourth quarter, and Green he took a charge, and then he found cutting Isaiah McMorris for a layup, and then he blocked Josiah Dotzler at the basket on his second jump, because Dotzler actually got him off his feet, I believe, the first time. He hit the ground and went back up and still got it. And then he went down and tipped in a miss from a teammate. So just making plays on both ends, and by the end of that little sequence there, Millard North was up 12, and they were able to kind of hold on to the lead the rest of the way. And he was phenomenal on both ends, and just his defensive presence, I think, was the single biggest reason that Millard North won that game, because Bellevue West just had a hard time in the paint, which is an area that they had dominated throughout the tournament, with Josiah Dotzler getting there with William Kyle III, who didn't even miss a shot until the second half of that game, I believe. I'm talking about in the tournament. Mm-hmm. He hit his first 18 shots from the field at the state tournament, finished shooting over 82% from the field. So not bad for the future Jackrabbit at South Dakota State. But just knowing that Green was there, his presence, and then the other guys kind of playing off of that made it tough for Bellevue West, and they got outscored by 12 in the paint. And that plus Millard North's free throw shooting, 8-11 in the fourth quarter, I believe, to kind of seal that deal. And Green was phenomenal. And then David Harmon, obviously, we've got to mention him. Mm-hmm. And the season he had, he's a guy who played freshman ball his first year, and then I think he got in at the end of 3 games his sophomore year, 3 varsity games. He was a backup his whole junior year. Didn't really shoot much. Was coming in, play some defense, maybe get a shot every game or so. Playing obviously behind some really talented players, and Hunter Salas and St. Thomas and Jaden Johnson there, 3 Division I guys. And this year it was his turn to kind of make the team his own, playing alongside of Jason. And he stepped up and had a phenomenal year, culminating with 26-point, 8-rebound performance in the championship game. And put the little exclamation point on it at the end of the game, too, with that breakaway dunk to seal the victory, which I'm sure is a moment he'll never forget.
Jacob Padilla is with us, recapping the basketball championships at PBA Boys and Girls State 2022. Hail Varsity Radio at Jacob Padilla _ where you follow him on Twitter. I think Coach Feakin and Gretna and their run, impressive for the girls. I think Coach Berda and Lincoln Southwest, and just what an incredible player Kennedy Williams already is, as young as she is for Southwest. Those are 2 teams that I really enjoyed as well. Jacob, going to switch gears and talk some NCAA tournament. Do you have your bracket filled out, and if so, what's your Final Four?
To be perfectly honest with you, yesterday was obviously the 6 days, and then yesterday was AAU tryout day, and I was in a gym all day.
Jacob's like, I haven't seen it yet.
I honestly, I have not looked at a bracket yet. I've heard some of the seedings, obviously, for teams of interest around here and some of it, but I have not pulled up a bracket yet. That was what I was going to do as soon as I got done with this hit, because I have not looked at one yet. But I'll probably end up taking Gonzaga to win it, although it sounds like they're going to be some tough teams in their way. But, I got to sit down and kind of look at all the matchups and see how it plays out. But I've got like three bracket pool invites that I've got to respond to and get my brackets filled out here pretty quickly.
I've been on a drought. It has been 15 years since I've won the ESPN Lincoln Skittles. I went back to back, but it's been a while, right? It's a quality versus quantity thing, Jacob. So I may just have you fill one out for me.
It's cheating. It's cheating.
I came up just short last year. If Gonzaga had won it, I would have won the Hurrdat Hail Varsity bracket pool. So they kind of let me down a little bit there. Someone kind of swooped in at the very end and stole that thing with Baylor getting the win. But pretty good showing. The last time I won was the year that Louisville beat Michigan.
2013.
And no, I did not give back my winnings after the NCAA confiscated the championship.
Listen, the memories can't go away. They can take the banners down. The Fab Five may only be a fable now in Chrysler Arena. In Louisville and that team with Slick Rick and company. I get it. But no, you are not required, especially now in the era of NIL, my friend. You are free and clear to do whatever you want. Is there a dark horse? And I know you haven't completely dove in yet, but is there a team in this country you're wowed by?
In terms of a dark horse,
Cinderella.
In terms of going all the way, I don't know. I think you've got obviously Gonzaga is going to be really impressive. All the ones and twos, I think. Mm-hmm. You've got some teams that are playing really well down the stretch. I mean, Memphis. I think they got a tough draw, obviously. Any team outside of the top couple seeds are going to have a tough draw because you're going to have to go through those top seeds. But Memphis is really interesting. Just you look at Bart Torvik, I believe, over the last however long month or so of the season, something like that, or since Amani Bates kind of shut it down, they've been the second best team in the country just based on their performance, based on Bart Torvik's metrics. So that's a team that I'm probably not going to pick to win the thing, but that could be a team that you could see going deeper than you would expect based on their seed. That's one, obviously. I think South Dakota State is the hot kind of mid-major to maybe get an upset early on, and I'm right there with it. I know some of those guys over there. Obviously, we've got some local kids on that team. They're just one of the best three-point shooting teams we've ever seen. And it's not a team that relies on that three-point. It's not a super high-volume team. They just make all the ones that they take. And a guy like Baylor Shireman is capable of hurting you in a lot of different ways. So, again, it's not a team that's probably going to see cutting down the nets, but just one that I'm going to be excited to kind of track in the tournament and see how they do.
Jacob, we'll talk soon, bud. Thanks for the update today.
All right, sounds good.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Big thanks to Jacob Padilla from HailVarsity.com and magazine. And that podcast will be uploaded to ESPN Lincoln on demand. And the full pod, you'll find it Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Subscribe and rate us, Hail Varsity Radio. We appreciate all the support and listenership you've given us. Continue to do so, good, bad, or ugly. Give us your feedback. Numbers to dial up, open phones here till, I almost said 6 because the clocks are screwed up. It says clocks are fixed nowhere in this building, but that's okay. 466-377-6800, 825-5865. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. Coach McBride in 20 minutes. Charlie Easley, Pride of Pius, going to be with us at 5:25 as you're Jacob talking about South Dakota State. A 14 seed. They got the middle finger on that seeding, but they'll make some noise, I'm hoping, here come Thursday at about 11:40 in Buffalo. So the sit-down that was last week, Casey Thompson, transfer quarterback from Texas to Lincoln. And you know about Casey's story. Charles Thompson, incredible option quarterback at OU. Casey waited his turn, did his time, competed, and really good listen with Will Compton and Taylor Luan with Bussin with the Boys. Check that out. That's on YouTube or the different platforms you hear your podcasts. But it really, there's just some impressions I have, and please go listen to all of it. But just the fact of how Casey Thompson found out that he was going to play and start at Texas after week 2. I mean, it was social media before the quarterbacks even communicated with him. That's garbage, first and foremost. And he didn't even really figure things out through coach's direct communication that he wasn't going to start last year. He had been doing and splitting reps with, getting most of the first team reps and then some second team reps, and then his first team reps disappeared, and it didn't sound like it was due to performance. And listen, Casey's ultimate class. This is not piñata time on Texas. It was just his experience, and like sight unseen, the first time he found his way to Lincoln was when he was driving here to move in. He really did incredible research, and Auburn, Oklahoma, Nebraska were the 3. And the big part here was the association with Oregon, who he loved watching growing up and what Frost did with those offenses. And, of course, the Mark Whipple effect of not only talking to Pickett, but other quarterbacks that Whipple's worked under. So those are all phone calls Casey Thompson made. The phone call to Adrian Martinez was big, and it was an endorsement. And it's stuff that he's lived through. When you're winning, everyone loves you. When you lose, people are shooting arrows at you, and he went through that at Texas. But just the lack of communication from Sark and his staff is my takeaway, and he's all about putting the work in. Now, when we get to endorsements and NIL, that's a big-time game changer. You've heard Nick Saban talk about 6 figures, or make it more than 6 figures, but $1 million, right, for quarterbacks and NIL. This is part of Casey's sit down with Will and company on not only Texas, but also NIL in Lincoln and Nebraska's difference. Let's start here with the first part of Casey Thompson talking about Texas and Lincoln and the Nebraska opportunity.
When I say opportunities, I mean like how often and how much that these companies are willing to.
What are we talking?
Talking cash money, son.
Yeah.
What are we talking?
Are we talking about phone numbers?
You give us something.
Like you can come here. You can come to Nebraska. I mean, first off, when I first got here, they told me when I found out that like 17 or 18 different football players had vehicles. I was like, that's unheard of.
That's how we do it here, man.
Yeah, with like a free place to stay, and like at Texas, it was me, Bijan Robinson, and one defensive starter, like three guys.
Because they keep it close to the vest. All the rich guys out of Texas, they want to keep it for
but
themselves.
Not even just Nebraska Athletic. There's like 70 or 80 different people across all sports that have like either an apartment or a car, or they're getting NIL deals like women's basketball. More athletes across all of the sports are getting blessed with opportunities, and just like the numbers and the how often you're able to get these deals is like way more than I've ever seen.
So think about that. At Nebraska, 70 to 80 student athletes, not just football, either have a vehicle or an apartment. I had 4 roommates in college. Depending on the day, you can give them a phone call right now and see what they thought of me. I had a car payment to make. I didn't play ball. I could work. Right. And I did work. I mean, I worked my butt off interning at radio, but it wasn't about money. It was about experience. Mm-hmm. And now as a student athlete, because of NIL, you're getting the hookup at Nebraska. Other places, yes, but this is it in the state. This is your pro football team. This is your pro basketball team. And you have success like you do in volleyball and Nebraska women's basketball, you're taken care of. You have, baseball is coming off a really nice season. I mean, and then there's Division I men's and men's basketball and men's football. And you know what type of love there is for Nebraska. So it's not that shocking, but more from Casey Thompson here on specifics here when it comes to how you can make 6 figures as a player in Lincoln.
You're going to make 6 figures as
a player.
As a player here. If you're a starter here on the football team, you can make over 6 figures.
If I made 6 figures in college, I'm dead.
I did $850 scholarship check, and I thought I was living because rent was like $350, $375. Right. And after utilities, $450. That's $400 left over to spend.
Yeah.
At the rail.
Hey, Nebraska legit needs to be in the playoffs every year. You're going to make 6 figures.
The boys are figuring it out. It's a slow burn. It's a slow climb, but we figure out. We know where we have to win.
I'm more of a typhoon type of guy. If you want to make 6 figures right out of high school, so you're automatically doing better than all of your friends. Your parents are up to their neck in student loans, and they're dying. And you just say, oh, that's weird. I make 6 figures now, and I drive whatever the I want. Right. Come to Nebraska.
Yeah, come to Nebraska. It's an endorsement for you. You'll make 6 figures.
Make more than your friends. And friends, how about parents? How about parents that have slaved away for 20 years at a gig? Right?
It's tough text to send.
Oh, man. That was a great reaction. I'd be dead if I made 6 figures in college.
I think you and I both would be, huh?
Oh, we had a good time, though.
You're right.
I mean, and you're just out and...
And we got through it, which is the most important thing.
Well, but you got through it in a timely fashion.
That's true.
I did not.
Might have paid off.
Well, here's the story. Like, my brother, in and out Doane 4 years, played baseball, took a lot of hours, graduated with a business degree. I bleeped around and had a triple-double, and I was still cheaper. Always remember my dad telling me that. You pissed around and you were still cheaper than your brother. Love you, son. We'll wind down hour 1 next.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this first hour, Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson in, Elijah Herbal is celebrating that 23rd birthday yesterday, is out in Colorado shopping for a Russell Wilson jersey? Is he in Colorado or is he just camping?
No, yeah, he's in Colorado. What's the Russell Wilson? Oh, because he's a Broncos fan.
He's
That's
a Donkey
right.
fan.
Forgot about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, you got Cousins extended.
Great. You know, actually, there was kind of a good thing about that because they lowered his salary this year, I think. Mm-hmm. It's easier to trade.
Possibly. Now you go where?
Seattle, you want him? I don't know.
Well,
and if anyone wants him, go ahead.
No, I'm saying who does Minnesota get if they move Kirk?
Now I see. Deshaun was on the radar.
Sure he is.
I don't know
but
if
the per capita massage parlors in Minneapolis could be dangerous.
I guess nobody's heard about good massage parlors in Minnesota, so I think we're good.
Well, it's always cold.
That's true.
So you're less apt to go out.
That's true.
Which is dangerous because then you just end up ordering in. He allegedly has already done that.
Many times.
Yeah. Reminder to buckle up. Game preparation and repetition predict success in winning. Drivers and vehicle passengers who always use their seatbelts will increase their survival chances if a crash should happen. Remember to always buckle up. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Will, you sent this to me. What do you think here of Rick Barnes? Love Rick Barnes. Liked him at Texas. Appreciate him at Clemson. I think he's done really well at Tennessee. He is telling teams that are in the NCAA tournament, sit out your conference tournament. Let teams fighting for the NCAA tournament bids play in those conference tournaments. You look at A&M. They had to win to get in. Virginia Tech had to win to get in. Va-Tech did. Not enough gas. Fourth day in his 4 games in as many days for A&M, and they got whacked by 15. And you see teams that put a run together and win the conference tournament. Sometimes they are done by the Sweet 16. It didn't happen all that often to the Dukes of the world or the Carolinas per se. But the team that always is pretty wow to me are those UConn teams. There's a couple of instances where you had a good UConn team. There's probably a 7 or 8 seed that played their way into a 5th seed by winning the Big East tournament, and then they tore through the NCAAs. Oregon was another team. Iowa, the last time they won the Big Ten tournament, I think Luke Recker was playing for them, and that was 20 years ago, and then they were one and done in the NCAA tournament. I think they were on the verge of having to win to get in anyway. Maybe not quite, but it wasn't going to be as nice a seeding as they got. Impressive run for Iowa, but you know that the Illinois of the world, and I know Purdue played in the final, I think they're okay. It just kind of comes down to depth. I mean, Gonzaga, third time against St. Mary's. It's old hat for Gonzaga. I mean, they've won so many. What do you think about Barnes' take? Almost sort of tanking to preserve for March.
I've never heard of this take before, but also winning a conference championship, is that not something that people want to do anymore? Does it not mean anything?
You know what they ought to do is they ought to flip it. They ought to flip it. And if you win the regular season championship outright, get your automatic bid that way. Leave it up to the conferences versus allowing somebody to go Jimmy V.
Yeah.
Which it's still special because they finished it off in 83. Coach McBride's next.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's Hour 2, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson in today. It is that time, a Monday with Charlie, Mr. Blackshirt. Charlie McBride. Coach, how we doing?
Good. The weather's getting good now.
I am...
And no ice on the lake.
Well, that is good news. It's going to be warm around here. I'm off to Arizona Wednesday, so I'll be thinking of you.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it's too bad I'm going to be gone. You're like, son of a gun. He's not going to bother me for a while. No, it's going to be good. I can't wait for this time of year with college basketball going, spring football's geared up, and you've already got a week done, and now you have a week off because of spring break. And a couple of thoughts I wanted to get from you on just where Nebraska's at. So they had their full pad workout Friday. I did not go, but some folks that went were pretty impressed. It sounds like the offense had a good day. It sounds there was a major blow-up where there was a scrap that happened. And you have the quarterback, the Thompson kid, showing quite a bit of leadership. I want to go with some comments that Scott Frost made back with the press conference on the team. And he talked about his new assistants, Coach McBride, and the topic of accountability, demanding a lot from the players. Tell me about your approach and how you wanted the defense run with your assistants on defense, getting that accountability, that standard at a certain level.
Well, the guys that I work with are pretty professional guys. I mean, there was never any problems with the times that we had or the meetings or any of that type of thing. I think that's one thing. We knew each other pretty good, and I think that's important. That's a hard thing to do sometimes. It's you get new coaches and everything, and you don't want to go off in front of the players, so you kind of have to, be careful what you're doing there. Sometimes it gets a little bit, over the top, I know, in some places, but we never really had that kind of problem at all. And, but I think that, when you talk to the players, they have some accountability in the fact that all of the small rules that you have, being on time, and so forth for practice and for meetings and training table and things like that, I think are really important. They may sound like they're not a big deal, but they're important. And so you go over that stuff pretty good at the beginning of the semester, and then as you go on, you'll have somebody slide in a little bit late, and you can travel on that one how you want to. You can get all worked up about it, or you can just kind of let it slide. And usually the first time, if you want to get worked up, do it the first time. After that, you just tell them don't come in. But they're that late. I've never had that kind of problem. I remember one time Kenny Walker was 37 minutes late for a game. His alarm didn't go off, and of course he's totally deaf, so something went. So you can't really get upset with him, But it was kind of funny because we had a little brown book that we kept some of the things in, and we usually gave it to a person that was in a business school or was in accounting, and or somebody that knew what they were doing. And, for example, if you were late for a meeting, it was a penny a second. And so it went on that way. And then at the end of the year, they put the money together and, we got some steaks and cooked them. And it was kind of funny. I mean, you got in trouble for about anything there was. And, of course, I'd be looking at film and I'd hear somebody say, Coach, so-and-so's asleep, So that's about $1. I mean, there's that. And then there's all the you can think of a bunch of things that they do in meetings, and it's a lot of fun, really, is what it is. But the guys all come up with a quarter or day or 50 cents or something like that. Depends on what they were doing. And but if somebody found out somebody was late for class, that was probably easy 50 cents to $1. Depends on how late. Or if you were totally late, that's you got it for the full buck. But it was just fun.
Well, and it was going to a good cause, steaks, at the end of the year.
That's right.
So I question, Charlie McBride's with us. If a kid missed class, did you have to go riot act, or did you have a player that did that for you?
When we had a kid miss class, they had a pretty good record of it downstairs, and I can't exactly remember, but so many classes missed you miss a game.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had that happen a couple of times. Guys that miss classes too much, or over the years, So we had, I think it was 5.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had the Unity Council, I think you had 5 points. You got 5 points at the beginning, and as things went on, you got points taken away. And once all those points are gone, then you're suspended from a game.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be more. I mean, it just all depends on what, it pretty much depends on what we had. I don't remember the exactly what it was, but, I think our we had a drug policy, we had a class policy, there were certain things that, that was in that. And in reality, what they did was they kept it away from the coaches. The players and Jack Stark, who was our psychologist, and he did a great job with the players. And one good thing about having somebody like that is sometimes there's things the players need to tell somebody but don't want the coaches to know, or something like that. I mean, and Jack handled that kind of stuff really good. If so-and-so's doing something, maybe you ought to talk to them, or, this or that. They were able to tell him, and he was able to take it from there, and so it saved us a lot of time. Then, we had some, as when I was there toward the end, we had some some uniform changes. In one game we went all red, one, stuff like that. And we pretty much left that up to them. And, of course, Coach Osborne was the final say in it, but he went along with what the players wanted. And that's why you had the thing, is to give them some voice in what was going on. If something they didn't like or something they did. I remember we started practice before summer school was over in our preseason, and we got to a point where, we were starting practice at 7, and that letting them go just before 9 when classes started. And it worked out where when we got to everybody back in class, we went to 7 o'clock. They didn't want to change. So, we thought at first they were all moaning and everything about a 7 o'clock thing, but then once it was done, because they got more time between practice.
Mm-hmm. Charlie McBride's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, a Monday with Charlie. Coach, how do you know how far to push a kid in a good way for them to maximize their potential, getting the most out of them, being able to tap in and find that ceiling?
Well, let me just say this: every kid's as different as his face, and that's what you have to start. That's what you start learning as a freshman. You kind of, some guys just like yell at the kid or something like that, and as time goes on, you can tell he doesn't really respond to that. He kind of doesn't like it. And I had kids that, she could yell at me, coach, push me, and that kind of stuff. It fires me up, and that. So there's a different kind of kid, So you have to learn. You can't just all of a sudden start doing things, your way all the time. It doesn't work. So you have to kind of, fall in with with what you think is the best for them. I had a philosophy that if I ever got after somebody, a lot of times in practice, I'd get them all together, and they knew who I was talking about. If I, said, hey, we're making too many mistakes, and so on. without confronting that person. And that person knew darn well what I was talking about. And so did the other players knew who I was talking about. And so if you do it that way without confront them or make them feel like, you can make them feeling pretty bad. And the thing is sometimes that, you do get to a point in practice where that does happen a little bit with individual kids. But I always thought about don't ever let the player leave the field with any negative feelings. Mm-hmm. And nothing is ever personal. It's all about business.
Coach, the topic of fights during spring, and I don't know how severe this one was or wasn't Friday, but the skirmish, they tend to happen. What was the fighting policy? True or false on Christian Peter? He'd get kicked out so he wouldn't have to practice some days.
No, he really didn't. They were good, but they would happen. I mean, a lot of times they think the scout team guy's playing too rough, and they, take a swing at him or something like that and shove him around or do something. But that usually didn't last too long. Coach Osborne, all he had to do was go over there and tell them to cut it out. And they did, or else they were off. They were out of practice. But I never saw that. I mean, as long as I was there, I never, we'd always have a bunch of some pushing and shoving and, that kind of stuff. And guys would, but not a full-blown, fist fight or anything like that. And we had one bad thing a long time in the beginning when I first went there. I don't even know who it was, or I don't remember, but somebody took a helmet off and, swung at a kid in the locker room. And I think that might have been a couple of days suspension, and that was just a moment. At the moment, we that wasn't a good idea. But the players themselves will stop it. I mean, if something gets out of hand, most of them will just jump in on it and stop it. So
did you ever get grades stepping in between?
Did I?
Yeah, breaking one up.
I didn't want to. Then my birthday, they jumped me, so I don't know. They pile on.
Hold on a minute. What happened with your birthday? Tell us this.
No, they just jumped me, and of course I was at the bottom of the pile, and they loved that, and they.
Was it a milestone birthday, or was it just a normal birthday?
No, this is right. It was just a normal birthday. They found out. So you had to watch yourself every year, because once the date was out, you're in trouble.
Well, who jumped you? Who jumped you?
Oh, well, Raymakers probably would be the first one I would pick. But your back's always turned. They always do it. It's so fast. They always do it when you're not walking off the field after practice or something like that. And but it was all in fun, and and it was they all got a kick out of it. I got the soft end of it, but they didn't punch me or anything. I think someone wanted to.
Charlie McBride's with us. Well, that's funny. That's pretty good. Well, happy birthday, Coach. Let's dogpile you. All right. Right. NCAA tournament, Coach. Who's winning the whole thing?
Oh, come on. I tell you what, that's going to be... who I'd like to see Duke win it, just so, because it's his last year.
Okay, Coach K.
And he's, I got a little soft spot for him. He's a Chicago guy, and, coached back there in high school, and that's what I did when I was there. But I'd like to see, him come out, after all the years and all the things he's done for people, that, he's been a coach of the American team in the Olympics. He's just done a lot of things with his coaching, and of course he's got a lot of awards for it and won a lot of championships and things. But I'd like to see Duke, win it. But other than that, I'd like to see a Big Ten. I'd like to see a Big Ten team win.
Well, there's 9 of them in. We'll see how long and how far they survive.
Right. You'll be surprised. Some of these teams that weren't playing as good, all of a sudden will come out of the woodwork. That's the way this thing works.
No,
all of a sudden they start playing like crazy, and everything changes all of a sudden. And there may be a team that isn't as good comes in there and just gets on fire and goes. So we've had teams, and if you remember, we've had teams that were well-known teams. That have got, I don't know, I think one year they got in the Final Four and that type of thing. So there's some smaller schools that, are pretty good.
Well, Cinderella should be fun. Coach, have a great week. Enjoy some basketball, and we'll talk soon.
I know they got them all going this week, men and women and everything.
Yep.
So it'll be wild.
It'll be good. Get some wings and enjoy.
That's it. Thanks.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. It's March Madness time, and the selection show yesterday, and real standout for Pius X, now up at South Dakota State, is on his way to Buffalo. Charlie Easley with us. Charlie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Take me through yesterday, your emotions, and just the watch party. What was it like for you?
Well, there's definitely a lot of excitement for me and my teammates and coaches and family and everybody. And, well, we got the draw the Providence in Buffalo, so that'll be a fun one. And we're getting ready for them as we speak. And, yeah, it should be fun.
Charlie, have you ever been to Buffalo?
Never to Buffalo. I've been to New York City, went on AU tournament there, but never to Buffalo, no.
So, per our guy Searles, who played up there, it's even cold in the spring. Just some notes. And you get looked at sideways if you go with ranch instead of blue cheese when you get wings.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know if we go out to dinner somewhere before. So I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Words to live by. Charlie Easley's with us. So take me through your first and foremost, congrats on the success of South Dakota State. I mean, just a phenomenal year. 21-game win streak, 30-4. Unbeaten in the Summit League, and the Summit's just been a big-time league to get through. It's one thing to win it. You guys did that in the regular season, and then the conference championship. It's another to go undefeated. Speak a little bit to this team's chemistry, talent, and what allowed you guys to navigate like you did.
Well, yeah, obviously we have a great coaching staff, a lot of great players, and that's allowed us to have a good season. But really it comes down to how close we are as a team on and off the court. We got great team chemistry. We all trust each other, and that kind of helps us when you get in those tough situations during games when things might not be going your way, to kind of trust one another that they're going to do their job. And that's how we've won some close ones and gotten some big plays down the stretch, and that's kept our winning streak, and we won the conference tournament, and that's what's been doing it for us.
Charlie Easley with us, Hail Varsity Radio, sophomore with South Dakota State, state champion at Pius X. So you talk about trust and chemistry. When you got to South Dakota State, when you got up to Brookings, how did you earn that trust with your teammates? What was your MO, so to speak? What did you want to do coming in with this new team?
Well, I went in there with the same mentality I've always had throughout my basketball career, and it's just kind of going in there and working as hard as you can every day and just giving it your all. And your teammates, your coaches will see that, and just that'll give them trust that you're going to go out there and give it your all every single night, and that's just really been what's done it for me.
Guys saw that. In turn, who were some teammates at South Dakota State you were able to kind of get close with and bond with when it came to you making the trip up there?
Well, the connection I had to South Dakota State is Baylor Shireman, because I've known him probably since 5th grade, but I actually played AAU basketball with him on the OSA Crusaders. So I knew him from there, and I knew what type of guy and player he was. And I kind of got in contact with him when I was kind of making the decision, and it just kind of felt right, and I'm glad I made the decision.
Let's talk a little bit about Providence, a power team from the Big East. What are some early impressions you have of the Friars?
Well, obviously, they're a great team. They got a lot of good players, and they got a couple good guards and a good post. And they won the Big East regular season title. So, you got to be pretty dang good if you're going to do that. And we just started scouting them today, and we're getting a better feel for them offensively and defensively, and we're going to be ready to go in the game.
What is special about this South Dakota State team? I've laid out the win streak. You've touched on the chemistry. But when it comes to on court, what do the Jacks do and do better than most?
We're just very united as a group on defense, on offense, and we've been focusing more on kind of getting the defensive side under wraps, and that leads us to good offense. Offense comes a little easier for us. But when we focus on defense, that just automatically propels our offense into doing good things. So that's kind of what's made us really successful this year, and just kind of trusting everybody on our team, trusting the coaching staff, just knowing that we're going to put ourselves in the best situation to win.
Charlie Easley's with us here a few minutes. South Dakota State dancing again, first time since 2018. 11:40 tip Thursday against Providence, and you'll hear all the NCAA coverage here on ESPN Lincoln. Defense is so important, but it's way more fun to score the basketball. You've been a guy that's had great offensive ability, but even just watching in high school, you always put an emphasis on defense. Is that fair to say? Has that been kind of drilled into you since really early in your basketball career?
Yes, absolutely. It's always kind of been you always want to impact every area of the game, not just offensively and scoring, because some nights you're not going to be able to hit shots on offense, and that's just the way basketball is. But you got to impact other areas of the game, and defense has always been one of those areas for me. And kind of one thing my dad always told me before games is just focus on defensive and rebounding, and the rest will take care of itself. And I've kind of taken that with me, and I think about that every game going into it just to make sure I'm locked in on both sides of the court.
Charlie, when we talk about offense and your skill set, just incredible in high school. You've played really well transitioning to college. Now you're in the NCAA tournament. What have you had to work on offensively as you've continued to grow in your career?
Offensively, I've kind of worked on just getting my shot quicker. Division I, you got to get shots up. There's going to be a guy in your face almost every time. So I've worked on my shot a lot, and just trying to kind of pick my moments to use moves to get open shots. And maybe if it's a pull up or if it's a cut to the basket, just kind of being a well-rounded player to impact multiple ways.
With your role on this team, how have you accepted that, and what's your attitude been with South Dakota State as you've obviously shown your ability and you have the right mentality? But quite honestly, I'm wondering, how you've been able to continue to grind and kind of climb the ladder.
Just kind of staying level-headed and never getting too high or too low has helped me, and just kind of always having confidence in shooting the ball, and that's really helped me this season on offense. And we got a lot of offensive weapons and a lot of great players on this team, and it's kind of helped me and a lot of the other players out that nobody has to do it all by themselves. We got a lot of guys who can score, and it can be anybody's night on any day. So we just kind of use that, and every game it seems like a different person steps up. So that's been helping us.
Charlie, let's hear a little bit here about Coach Henderson. What's his personality like? What's it like to play for him?
I love playing for Coach Henderson. I love him, and he's he's got the most energy in the room, whether it's it doesn't matter if it's a early practice or in a game. He's always going to be there, and he's always going to give energy to the team. And he just instills confidence in all of us players, in him and in the team and in the game plan. So he's done a great job of leading us this year, and I can't wait to continue playing for him.
Charlie, when it came time to find a spot, and I really loved watching you at Nebraska. You mentioned the Baylor connection, a teammate through AAU, but with South Dakota State on your short list even before Nebraska, I'm asking about just that decision to transfer and the difficulty of it, or was it that hard of a decision?
It was definitely a hard decision for me because I had a great experience at Nebraska. I loved the coaches. I loved all my teammates. And they really gave me a lot. I mean, they gave me a chance. So I thank them for that, and I thank all my teammates. But kind of the decision was I kind of wanted a bigger role in kind of my playing college. So, and I had kind of had previous contact in high school with some of the South Dakota State coaches, and obviously I knew Baylor Shireman very well. So, and I've always known what type of program South Dakota State is, and I've seen they've had a ton of success. So that all that kind of went into my decision to transfer to South Dakota State, and it was the best decision for me, and I'm glad that I made the move.
Charlie Easley with us, South Dakota State on to the NCAA tournament dancing as a 14 seed. Is that seeding bother you guys, or do you care?
I wouldn't say it bothers us. I think we know that how good of a team we are and what we did throughout the season. That, yeah, you can make the case that maybe we should have got a better seed, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what seed you are. You're on the court with another team playing them, and it doesn't matter who you are, and you just got to go out and do what you've done all season and be prepared and ready to go.
Last thought, Charlie, how much of the Pius contingent is making their way to Buffalo?
Well, yeah, my mom definitely wasn't happy about the location of the game. She wanted a little bit closer one, so she definitely let me hear about that after the Selection Sunday show. But I think a good amount still may make the trip out there. I know some of my brothers are going, and my mom and dad and grandma and grandpa.
That's awesome. So what were Mom's words about Buffalo?
Well, she was just talking all week about getting the Midwest game, and they were maybe going to try and get a caravan of cars going down to the game. So Buffalo kind of crossed that off the list.
Charlie, we'll be cheering for you Thursday morning. Best to you, best to South Dakota State against Providence. Thanks for a few minutes with us today.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Good to catch up with Pius standout and part of South Dakota State University, Charlie Easley. We'll get that posted, ESPN Lincoln On Demand, the podcast section, and parts of that interview will be posted. Could Randy Gregory be headed to Mile High? We'll have that next.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Open phones here till 6. Hail Varsity Radio presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Reminder, Thursday, Friday, opening round NCAA tournament. Your home is Longwell's Rail Yard, and Hooksy and Will and Elijah, the crew, going to be down there getting your tournament going for both opening days, Friday and Saturday. Husker basketball, of course, the women get rocking as well. So you're already just fired up for that 9 to 11 tournament lead-in show for both days, Will. And then do we have an over-under on Crown and Diets for Hooksy?
Yeah, man, I think I might set that thing at 9.
You keep him to 2 a show, though.
2 a show. Well, and you know what the bad thing is, too? I think they kind of give us a tab, too.
Or 2 a segment.
Yeah, 2 a segment sounds about right. We'll set the under. Over-under per segment at 4 for Hooksy.
Pours per segment?
You know, it's opening. It's the opening day. It's the opening day. I'm being generous even. No, I'm joking.
Make sure you play him the clip of McBride cheering for Coach K.
Oh, I will do that. He'll love it. He'll love it. No, I'm excited. Friday's going to be more fun for me. Thursday, actually, I have to close at the bar. Okay. So I can't get too turned up on Thursday, but Friday will be fun. Either way, both days are going to be fun. Can't wait to see people out there.
We'll be down there for the Sweet 16 rounds Thursday and Friday, the 23rd and 24th. So road shows for Hale Varsity. So that'll be good stuff. Husker baseball, Griffin Everett putting his Superman cape on, recapping that. Nebraska returning the favor as the Mavs got a 4-3 walk-off yesterday. A little less than 24 hours later, Griffin Everett, game-winning RBI single, which is money. Good for him. He went 4 for 5, 4 RBIs, 2 homers, and that was big. So Nebraska got walked off in Omaha Sunday. You lost to K-State on the road. In the midweek before that, Nebraska needed to win the home opener. They did that. And Everett said the team responded well all season, even though the record doesn't show it, 5-9. This is a little confidence. So head coach Bolt challenged his team recently. The message was heard loud and clear, especially from the vets on the roster. That was one of the reasons the Huskers held a players-only meeting after the loss on Sunday, and then got back to the diamond. And Everett's take on this is like, look, we're responsible for it. We're the ones who have been there. We've been in the program. We have to be able to set the example and set the standard. And Coach Bolt had felt we weren't living up to that, and we weren't. We had a players' meeting, got together, talked about it, and I think we're going to be working toward that right here. What was said in the meeting, Everett kept that answer short and sweet, saying it was an opportunity for everyone to get on the same page. So that players only get together. The result is a win, but same page is important, and more wins to come. You want to hope for Nebraska baseball moving forward, not the start you'd expected nor wanted. Big topic today was Casey Thompson's interview, sit down with Bussin with the boys. We've spent plenty of time on that today. A third installment and an excerpt from that on the difference between Texas and Nebraska. Really good sit down and a chance to kind of soak in Casey Thompson and his time as transfer to Lincoln.
Any student athlete should be able to make 6 figures if they really are working on their brand. Like you guys talk about, you got Twitter, Instagram, TikTok,
right.
Snapchat. There's so many different ways for you to monetize now off of your. I don't really go out of my way to do all this other stuff. It just comes to me, and here in Nebraska, I would say that's what the opportunities are just.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But this past year when NIL started, I think at Texas, I think after the Alamo Bowl performance in 2020, I just think all the people around the United States and the Texas fans, in Texas, they were offering me NIL deals in July, August before I was even named the starter.
So it's kind of a feeling out process. It's more prevalent. It's ramped up. It's a little more mainstream. But the takeaway, 6 figures to be a Nebraskan, which is impressive. 17, 18 guys have vehicles or they have their housing paid for. So it's Southwest Conference perks, but now legal. Okay.
And thank God they are, man.
Yeah, good. Now, what you do with that once you get the talent here is you got to win. Randy Gregory, what does his future look like? And you have CBS Sports reporting that Denver in hot pursuit, emerging as one of the top suitors. Cowboys do have the inside track. And listen, loyalty is important, and Dallas has shown that to Randy Gregory. Randy played 11 games last year, started 11 games, 6 sacks. So he's 29, but he doesn't have that many miles on him for obvious reasons. You have the franchise tag extended to Dalton Schultz, the tight end. So Randy and his side want to sit down with Dallas. Both sides want the same thing, and that's to get a deal done. But you have the Amari Cooper trade, a denied pay reduction request to DeMarcus Lawrence.
Ooh.
You have trade talks for Leal Collins, That has slowed Randy. You have legal tampering that's now underway. You did give Michael Gallup a 5-year extension with $62 million. There's a call to All-Pro Bobby Wagner after he got released. So where is Randy at on the priority list? He's high, but Denver's right there. Of course, they traded Von Miller. If you're Denver, you want to replace that outside. You just went and got Russell Wilson. You can start with the just watching Randy do his thing against Denver. I mean, so Denver had up close and personal. Randy's got a lot of good football left. Dan Quinn was a godsend for him as defensive coordinator. He was able to unleash. Tom Sula really didn't play Randy that much 2 seasons ago. And he was a one-and-done defensive coordinator. So
I'm all for it. Growing up, I think of Denver. Well, I think of two things. I know a lot of you think of Elway and what he did there. I think of Tebow and good defense.
Yeah, you think of Von Miller
in Denver. Mm-hmm.
You think of those dudes they find that are just Wolverines off the edge that go get a quarterback. No, and I think Randy'd be all right. I don't know Randy's financial situation. I know he was a steal in the second round, but the baggage and the NFL rules are a little different now. And I think he's in a great spot mentally, and good for him. I've always liked Randy, and Randy's always been good when he was in college, sitting down and doing the interviews, and just a good dude to chat with. And it sucks that he's had so many ups and downs, but when he's been right, he is absolutely a difference maker and a big-time performer at an incredible spot. I mean, he's just fantastic. We're going to talk with Kaz tomorrow and get his take on Randy and maybe Denver or staying in Dallas and get his take on, Randy's next contract, that second contract. Because I think Randy's probably lost. I mean, there's not a lot of guaranteed NFL money. And then when you're a second-round pick and then you've missed time due to suspension and then there's fines, and I think maybe is playing for $750 this year. Maybe. So the payday, the generational changing wealth is this next contract for Randy. And it's either going to be Dallas or Denver or other suitors that'll give it to him.
Home is where your health is, where your family gathers together, takes care of each other. And right there with you is Nebraska Medicine. We're proud to take care of Nebraska, to deliver everything your family needs. From cancer care to neurosurgery, it's expertise you can be confident in, with locations just a short drive away and telehealth appointments from the comfort of home. Find a specialist close to you at nebraskamed.com.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Okay, let's get a photo of the bride and groom standing next to that giant mud puddle. Good. Now smile.
Oh, honey, don't look now, but you're covered in mud.
Oh, so is your white tux.
You know what this means, don't you?
Trucks and Bucks from the Nebraska Lottery is back.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is the happiest day of my life. Don't you think we should head to the nearest Nebraska Lottery retailer?
I do.
Trucks and Bucks is back, and you could win one of 8 new trucks. Top prize odds 1 in 336,000.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good. Really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless. Now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Financing a new home couldn't be easier when you choose Cross Country Mortgage. Their mission is simple: to provide you with the best possible lending options and offer a transparent mortgage process for everyone involved. With their dedicated team of loan officers, your dream home could be yours in an average of 21 days. For homeowners, they offer renos, refis, jumbo loans, everything you need to keep your house feeling like home. Visit ccm.com. Cross Country Mortgage, dedicated to getting it done. Cross Country Mortgage, LLC, NMLS 3029, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org, Equal Housing Opportunity.
You can unlock more cash than you realize from your home's equity with a cash-out refinance today. In the last year, average home values have gone up nearly 20%. And with Rocket Mortgage, you can unlock thousands in less than 3 weeks. But you've got to act right now before rates go up. So when you're looking to unlock the cash in your home, Rocket can. Call 833-8ROCKET today or go to rocketmortgage.com to get started.
Rates current as of 12/12/21. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030. Call 800-490-1233 for disclosures and cost information.
I'm weatherology meteorologist Ulora Lockwood with your Capital City forecast. 27 tonight, under partly cloudy skies, northerly winds, 8 to 15 miles per hour. 66 tomorrow, mainly clear skies. Tomorrow night, lows level off around 39. That's the forecast on Lincoln's ESPN. Right now, 41.
Get your sports fix here. ESPN Lincoln is on the air at 101.5 FM and 1480 AM. Online at espnlincoln.com. And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Not to bore you, but I'm working my way through the bracket, and I've got a lot of chalk so far. Mm-hmm. Will Wilson in today, at Will on the Radios, where you find him on Twitter at Schmidt_radio. Podcast going to be up. Awesome conversation with Charlie Easley of South Dakota State. Charlie McBride this hour, Jacob Padilla last hour. We are going to talk with Mitch Sherman tomorrow. We'll have Coach Kaczynski. Andy Markowski will give us some insight to Nebraska as they get ready for Gonzaga, the women. And we'll tap into Andy's big brain about the bracket. We may or may not have Lars Anderson via StreamYard tomorrow. We're efforting Lars. We might effort Lars in studio. We'll see on that. And again, Longwell's your tournament headquarters for opening round and Sweet 16 and beyond, as ESPN Lincoln road showing it 9 to 11 in front of tip-off for you Thursday and Friday from Longwell's down in the rail yard. And I'll be back there the Sweet 16 Thursday, Friday when I get back from Arizona. So you guys are going to be holding it down Wednesday. Many thanks for that. And the weekend edition after tournament time. We are setting the over-under on rum and diet with Hooksy. We're going to go 8 seed.
I like that.
I think 8's the number.
Throughout the day, of course.
Yes. Yeah. Throughout the day.
I like that. I like that. Fair. And I'll probably go over.
Okay.
No judgment.
What's your poison of choice?
Actually, Crown is... I go the Crown route, but I'm into the Crown Apple, actually.
Crown Apple and...
Sprite.
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah. A Mango Carts I'm really into today, too. This is new wheat beer.
I've heard of
really
that.
Good.
Okay.
Really good.
Well, Mama just texted, and she's like, where are you taking me? It's like, we're going to the bar. So
there you go.
Tonight, she wants to get her NCAA on, I guess. And I was like, sweetie, the tournament doesn't get going for a couple of days.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of people on Twitter mad that there's no basketball tonight.
I am picking against Sparty. Junior left his Michigan State stocking hat in my back seat as he rode down for the Boys A championship Saturday with some of his and his dirty little buddies.
Staying in that region, that 6 versus 11 Alabama versus either Rutgers or Notre Dame, that's a tough one.
You know what? Here's what I'm saying. I mean, this Rutgers got absolutely screwed. They're in a play-in. Quite frankly, they and Michigan should have traded. Michigan should be the play-in against Notre Dame.
No doubt, yeah.
But that's not how it is. I like Rutgers to survive against Notre Dame, and then I like them to get by Alabama.
Wow. Okay.
Why the hell not?
I like it. I'm tailing
I like Rutgers guard play. I love what they've done. They got hot at the right time. They're physical. They're gritty. They rebound. They're nice.
I'm tailing that. I like it.
And again, we will erase all comments associated with Rutgers basketball if by Friday morning I'm dead wrong. This never happened. We are going to take the white out. We are going to take the Nixon erase juice and just
You can only gain credibility through this. You can't lose any.
Dude, I can lose all sorts of credibility with basketball picks. Absolutely. I kind of like the once upon a time distant Fighting Tim Mileses of Colorado State. They're a 6 seed. It's impressive. Back at you tomorrow at 4 with Hail Varsity. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.